What's up, guys?
What's up, guys?
So we're coming out with a new segment called Cook and Talk, and what it is we're gonna cook something or bake something, and we're just gonna sit and talk.
Yeah. So today it's kind of like a bake and talk because we're making butterscotch, chocolate chip, and oatmeal cookies. And what are we talking about?
We're talking about the first time that we possibly met an angel.
Yeah. So let's get into it. So I'm not going to explain the directions or the exact ingredients. I'm just going to put them in the description below so we can have a talking conversation.
It was our first date, and we ended up going down to Cincinnati. First place that I took her was a place called Finley's Market. And Finley's Market, if you don't know, is kind of just like a farmer's market, and I would say it's maybe 2 or 3 blocks long, and they just have a bunch of different things like dried meats, meat markets, fruits, vegetables,
Cool artisan shops,
fruit vendors, and a lot of artsy stuff like woodwork and like quilting and all that kind of stuff. And then on the outside of the stores, it's kind of like Finley's Market is kind of like tucked into like an alleyway, and then on the other sides of the alleys they have different like shops. Like I think there was like an Asian food market over there, and they have just like a bunch of other like small type of restaurants and shops like that. And then they also have like these little tents pitched up on the outside where people come and sell like the things that they make. During this time, it was around Christmas time.
so they have Christmas trees.
Yeah, they had a bunch of different Christmas trees, and they had like live music where people are just out there just strumming away on guitars and just singing and stuff like that. You were throwing oats everywhere, lady.
Okay.
That was satisfying. Okay, that was. Yeah, no, that actually wasn't very satisfying. And okay, anyways,
I need that.
you were throwing everything at me
I never
today.
sit down when I bake. Okay, continue.
Well, hold on. Let's check up. So, what step are you on right now?
I
mean,
need
you just tossed all
1
the oats and the eggs in there.
3/4 cups of flour.
What was that look? You gave like a wink. You're like, cups of flour.
I don't know if I said that right.
Cups of flour?
1 3/4 cups.
Yeah, 3/4, 3/4.
1 cup and 3/4
Yeah.
of all-purposed flour.
1 3/4 or 1 3/4 of the cup. Wait, did you?
What?
Where's the 1 cup line at now?
I know where it's at.
Okay.
I know how to bake.
Anyways, where were we at? I was just explaining Finley's Market, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, Finley's Market's really cool. It's downtown Cincinnati, so you get to see like all the city and all that kind of stuff. They have like a historic like opera house out there. It's just a really cool place to go.
Recommend it.
So we ended up going over there, and we kind of just walked through Finley's Market, just checked out all the little stands and all the novelty items and stuff like that. And you just ripped the bag.
I did not. This is the worst when when the zipper, you can't find which way it's supposed to go.
No. The bag is like ripped. It's ripped.
Oh, well, I'll get a new bag.
Why did you rip it? But it wasn't even like a rip. It was like a clean cut.
Okay. Next thing.
Did you just see that? She just threw something at you guys.
It's like we're sitting across the table and they're watching us cook. I would throw something at the person across from me. It's a playthrough.
Anyways, we kind of just went through Finley's Market, kind of just checked out all the shops and all the foods, and ate lunch there and stuff like that. While we're walking through there, Miranda had a new Polaroid camera that I actually bought her. And it's just one of those
For the
ones.
trip, so it could be artsy.
It was just one of those ones that you can, she doesn't know this, but she knows now. You can get at Walmart. And,
Well, first of all, little backtrack. He texted me one day and said, what would be a good gift to give my cousin, who is, I don't know how old she was, but it's a girl. Oh, yeah. And I would say, I don't know what I said. I said some things, and he said, oh, well, what about a Polaroid camera? Have you heard about anything about those? And I was like, yeah, they're all cool. And little did I know, he was asking because of me and not his cousin.
detective work. We're just going through Finley's Market, and I kind of just got it so we could take pictures and just have just memories of the whole date and all that kind of stuff. So when we were done with Finley's Market, we started walking back to the car, and there was okay, so we were leaving after just walking around Finley's Market for a bit, and we started walking back to my car, and my car is kind of just in one of those park and pay type of parking lots where you just pull in, they give you a ticket, and you pay for it when you come back. And we're walking back to my car, and there was this man who was homeless, and he was sitting on the side, and he had a sign talking. It said something like, "If you give him a little bit of money, he'll sing for you." So we're walking by, and as we're walking up, I noticed that there were several people that were walking past him, and a lot of these people, he tried to tell to come over here so he could kind of just talk to him and share God with them, and they just kept on walking by for some reason. So as we were walking by, Miranda and I, he stopped us and he started talking to us, and he just right off the bat said, "Are you guys Christian?" And we both responded with yes, and we were actually kind of confused because we didn't expect to stop, and we didn't know exactly what he was talking about or anything like that. So as we're walking back, we ended up stopping and we just started talking to him. So we're gonna finish the story in just a second, but we just want to give
Continue.
we just want to give you guys like full attention so we can make sure that we don't miss any details about this, because we think this is a really cool story. So we're just gonna finish the cookie dough, and then we will be right back.
Right back.
All right, the cookie dough's done. I kind of learned this little trick. Let me see if I can get it to work. Oh, come on. Oh no, I overdid. Oh no. All right, so as you can see, the cookies didn't come out as planned. It was I kind of messed up. I'm not a baker, and I kind of melted the butter completely, and
It's supposed to be softened. So if you make this recipe, make sure the butter is softened and not melted. But if it does get melted, you can just put some ice cream on it, and it'll be a whole new creation, and it'll be fine.
yeah.
At least it tastes good still.
So this is the final product. Let's check it out. Well, I guess that we I guess we owe you guys the rest of that story. So I believe we left off where we started walking back to the car, and we ran into that homeless man, and he just stopped to us, and he was just talking to us, and he knew that we were Christian. Earlier that week, I was reading in the Bible, and I was contemplating a lot of things through the scripture that I was reading, and a lot of it was going through Romans and going through Philippians, and when we went to go talk to him, he went over the exact same verses, and he answered everything that I was questioning about, and it was just extremely crazy. Again, this was on Miranda and I's very first date.
Mm-hmm.
He told Miranda that basically I was a very good Christian guy and she was a very good Christian girl.
Mm-hmm. And he says, I can tell you guys are doing what I'm doing, which was he was spreading the gospel and spreading Jesus with people on the streets.
And it's crazy because he didn't know this about us, but we're part of the outreach team and crew. So we were going out there and we were talking to other college students, spreading the word of God throughout our campus. So it was just crazy that how he knew that we were going out there and spreading the word, and how he knew everything that I was really contemplating. And it was just crazy how he just knew everything about us. So we ended up just sitting there and talking to him for a little bit. He ended up singing us a song. I think he was singing us.
He sang us about 2 songs.
I thought it was he sang. Did he sing Amazing Grace?
Mm-hmm. He sang Amazing Grace, and he belted it throughout the streets.
What was the other one?
It was like a hymn, I want to say.
It was an older hymn. I definitely know that. But
during all of it, he had this little beat up radio that he was playing a Christian like CD on. And so it was really cool because we were in the middle of downtown, I guess it was downtown Cincinnati, and he was playing this Christian CD on this beat up like radio that you would have like if you were little, like the old antenna radio and everything. And he was just stopping people in their tracks if they would stop. But I remember just standing there beside Noah, and Noah just kind of was like a deer in headlights. Like you could tell like he was just like mind blown at what this guy was telling him and everything. And I remember that there was just peace whenever you were standing around him. And even though like he was a complete stranger and we had no clue why he was stopping us on the streets, it was kind of just like a comforting feeling. Like you could just tell there was something about him.
This man, he was a military veteran. He ended up having some sort of head injury to the point where it made him very hard to walk and talk and things like that. He was sitting there and he had this bicycle and he had all these cardboard signs posted up saying that he would give you like a religious news paper and stuff like that. He was sitting on a milk crate. He had all his radios and CDs propped up on other milk crates, and then he had 3 or 4 other bags just filled with these newspapers, and also this bike that was right next to him. He also had a bunch of stuff because people would give him like bread and stuff like that. So when I was walking back to the car, I also had a pastry that I gave him, and we gave him a few dollars too. And we just ended up having a good conversation with him. Miranda still had the Polaroid camera, so she's like, "Hey, why don't you take a picture with him?" I don't remember his name. I know that it starts with an E, but I'm not too sure what his name was. I don't know why, but we both just can't remember it. So I went over there and I sat next to him, and one of his signs was kind of falling down, so I kind of just held it up as we're taking a picture. And we both took a picture, and Miranda gave him the first copy.
Well, first of all, he looked at me and goes, "Well, I haven't seen one of these things in decades." I remember that he was staring at it, and he was just like staring at himself so intensely in the Polaroid picture. He was like really trying to figure out the picture. But whenever I had the picture in my hand, something just told me to give it to him. And I knew we would just take another picture, and so he would have a copy and we'd have a copy. And it's like I didn't even think twice. I kind of just handed the picture to him.
So the next part is we decided to take another picture just to kind of have as a keepsake, because it's a really cool memory.
The second picture I was taking of Noah and the guy, I remember that he was still staring at that picture, the other Polaroid, the first one that we gave to him, and he was not even looking at the camera. In the first picture, he was smiling all big, staring right into the camera lens, but the second one, he didn't even bother to look at the camera. It's like he knew that it just wasn't going to happen.
So we took the second picture, and I was holding it, and with old Polaroids, you're supposed to kind of like move it up and down to kind of get it to develop a little bit more faster. And I saw that it was kind of developing a little bit on the side. I was still waving it, just trying to see if I can get it to develop, and it was just taking a real long time, so I just asked Miranda if she could place it inside of her purse. We did, and then we said our goodbyes, and then we walked back to the car and we just started talking about it. And I turned to Miranda and I'm like, I don't know why, but I just have this feeling that he's an angel. Because I mean, he just knew everything about us, everything that we were doing, and everything that I was contemplating in the Bible, he just knew about. I asked her for the picture to see if I can get it. And I actually still have the original Polaroid. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but the edges kind of developed a little bit, but the picture
never developed itself.
And the first picture we took that we gave to him was completely clear. And then like this one was not even a couple minutes later and it completely nothing.
Exactly. So the first picture that we took, it was completely developed. You could see both of us inside the picture. But for some reason, this picture that we try to keep of ourselves, it just didn't develop. It never developed.
And we even tested the camera like after, like a couple minutes after, literally right when we got back into the car, and it developed. And so it was kind of like, for everything to be so perfectly and for us to feel like complete peace and notice that there's something different about him, and then him to completely know us by the back of our hands. Like he was basically telling us things that we were like, how in the world do you know this? Like, you know? He knew we were dating. He knew like that we were both doing the same thing. He told me to keep you around because you were a good guy. For the picture not to develop, it just all kind of, it's like just one of those other things on the list of, okay, something is really like different here. So this is not like a normal person we're just meeting on the street.
And he also mentioned a specific Bible verse that I want to look up.
You remember it?
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned it?
Mm-hmm.
You're like 100% sure he mentioned it?
100%.
Oh. Learning things now.
The verse that he mentioned was Hebrews 13:2, and it says, "Do not forget to entertain strangers, for by so doing some have unwittingly entertained angels." And he said it word for word. He didn't even need to look in the Bible. And later on that evening, after talking to him, I went and I opened up my Bible just to make sure that he was reciting everything correctly, and he was completely right on the dot. And the thing about everything that he was telling me about the Bible, he even knew the exact verses that I was looking at.
And the exact translation that you would look at it.
The exact same translation, which is New King James Version. He even said it word for word. He knew everything about it.
And there was other scriptures, I remember, that he was citing word for word. And it was, I remember you specifically told me that it was scriptures you read about, but he explained them in such a deep knowledge that you've never heard anyone explain it even close to that before, but it just made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just clicked.
It did, and then I explained all of that to Miranda when we got back to the car. Miranda and I, when we were sitting in the car, we were kind of just sitting there just wondering, okay, so is this really true? Because, I mean, like the angel stories that we've heard from family members and stuff like that, we've always been told that they were there and they were just gone. So Miranda and I were kind of, we weren't shaken up, we're just kind of just like in shock, or like, this could possibly be an actual angel. So we're sitting there and we're like, okay, well, let's go see if he's still there. We backed out and we're pulling up to where he was at, and he was completely gone. And again, he had a hard time walking, he had a hard time speaking, a hard time seeing, he had all of his stuff with him, and there was just no way that he could have just got on that bike and gone that quickly. He was just gone.
He couldn't have got on the bike with the 2 milk crates, the 5 grocery bags, the cardboard posters, the radio, like all the food, all the newspapers. You couldn't have carried that all, and there was no bus that drove by to pick him up. He was just gone. And it was completely clear too. It wasn't like it was trashy where his area was.
It was like almost like he was never there. Mm-hmm. And as we were driving through, we went in a certain way where you would be able to look down the streets and look down several different alleyways, and he just wasn't there. Mm-hmm. He was just completely gone. And one of the things that he gave me was one of the newspapers that he had, and there was a certain section that I really liked reading through it.
And we get people probably have these newspapers, like or maybe they don't, I don't know, but I'm sure it's a common newspaper. He just happened to give us one.
So this is in a section that says Word of Wisdoms, and it's just Word of Wisdoms from several different people, several different authors, several different musicians and stuff like that. And one of the ones that really stuck out to me and really made me think that God sent him there for a specific reason, which was to talk to me about the verses that I was having issue with. It says, only Jesus can turn a mess into a message, a test into testimony, a trial into a triumph, a victim into a victory. I just believe that God wanted him there for a reason. The reason is to give me this and tell me how to understand his word. And it was just a very mind-opening experience. And I definitely know that whether we like to believe it or not, there are angels around us. We'll never know them. We won't know them by name or anything like that, but they're always around us. And I'm part of a ministry where we go out there and we go talk to the homeless. We do exactly what it's talking about in Hebrews, and we're entertaining these strangers, because you never know who you'll run into that might be an angel. I 100% specifically do believe that he is an angel, and if there was any doubt in my mind that he wasn't, I would definitely not be sharing this on YouTube with all of you. But I just know that this was an experience, and he was sent by God to just give us this information and just give us this parting gift. He didn't have very much, and he still had a very giving heart, and he gave us what he did have.
Some of you guys are wondering, like, well, Noah was so for sure when we were right there standing across from this guy that he was an angel. Like, well, Miranda, why didn't you know for sure? And the thing is that I knew something was different. I knew something was filled completely with peace, and that he knew too much about us to be a complete stranger. But at the same time, all of the talking and all of him explaining everything he knows about us was mainly towards Noah. And so for him to have that awe feeling, I didn't have that as much, but I still knew everything was completely different in a good way. And so when Noah told me all that stuff, I 100% backed it up, and it's like, I can see it. Even though I didn't experience the level he did, I still saw it in a completely different way.
So hopefully we can make more of these cooking talks, because I really enjoyed this, getting to eat a lot of good food and talk to you guys. Well, thank you guys again for joining us in this cooking talk, and we will see you next time.
Bye! God sees the beauty in the messes. Sorry. That's okay. I felt like I was supposed to say that.
You're rambling again.
I know. God laid that on my heart.